Today I'm going to be listing 10 characters I want to see in Injustice 2 Mobile. Some of these characters have nothing to do with the Injustice game universe, and some of these characters have nothing to do with the Injustice comic book universe. But regardless, I decided to add them anyways because in Injustice 1 Mobile, there were plenty of characters that were from other comics and other games added in, which made the game more diverse and more fun. Also, keep in mind that none of these characters are better than others. I simply want more characters in Injustice 2 Mobile added to the roster. Number 10, Deathstroke. We saw Deathstroke in Injustice 1, and I would really like to see him in Injustice 2 Mobile. He is a really cool looking character, and he's got a lot of things going for him. First of all, the black and the orange looks really great. The fact that one side of his helmet is missing an eye hole because he's missing an eye looks really, really intimidating. Plus, he's a super soldier and he has a healing factor, which I think could go pretty well to have in one of his passives or in one of his specials, kind of like Atlantean Armored Aquaman. Plus, he has swords and he has guns, which I think would make for a pretty cool combo string. I've also heard that Deathstroke has some really crazy reflexes. As a matter of fact, in the comic books, Deathstroke has cut a fly in half, and I've also heard that every single time that Batman has fought Deathstroke, he has had to do so with absolute perfection. Because if one of his hits was off, or one of his tactics was off by just a second, Deathstroke would take advantage of that and he would absolutely win. That's how crazy Deathstroke reflexes are. And I think that would make an awesome passive to have in Injustice 2 Mobile. Maybe it can be called awareness, and maybe it can give him maybe a second of advantage whenever he needs to block an attack. That would be really, really cool to have. Again, Deathstroke has a lot of really great things going for him, and I think he would fit in perfectly in the Injustice 2 Mobile roster. Number 9, Godspeed. I don't know too much about Godspeed, but I know two very important things. Number one, he's a speedster, and number two, he can literally be in two places at once, which makes for a really great idea as a passive. Keep in mind that no other Flash character can do this, and his passive would work really great as a combo builder because maybe after every basic attack hit or maybe after every swipe attack hit, Godspeed would have a chance of triggering a clone to come in and be able to perform more hits, which would build up your combo meter. Maybe he can be the very first character that has a 4-hit fast attack, which would be absolutely awesome. He also looks really cool with the white and the gold, but I mainly want to see him because of that cloning ability. Maybe the passive can just be called cloning. I don't know, something simple like that. We don't want to get too fancy in here. But either way, I think Godspeed would fit in really great in the Injustice 2 mobile roster. Number 8, Frost. Frost in Injustice 1 Mobile was absolutely perfect. Her passive was that she would make the opponents gain their energy 50% slower, so it would take them twice as long to get their energy. I think if you just copied and pasted her to Injustice 2 Mobile, it would work so great. And the reason why is because in Injustice 2 Mobile, the way you get your energy is actually different from Injustice 1. In Injustice 2, you can gain power bars by just waiting or by tagging in and tagging out. And because Frost is making you wait twice as long, I think she would be a great support character to have on your team, but also a great enemy to fight against because you would have to learn different tactics. In this case, the tactic would be tagging in and tagging out your teammates. I think that's a really great balance to the game. Many support characters are really great to have, but super annoying to fight. And I think Frost would be the very perfect middle ground to have. And she also looks really great. If they wanted to add some extra passives or extra special abilities, that would be great as well. Maybe she can do something with, well, obviously ice, but maybe she can do something where her specials kind of like freeze the opponents. I don't know, kind of like Supergirl does with her special too. Either way, Frost is a really great character to have, and I would love to see her as a support character in the Injustice 2 mobile roster. Number 7, Yellow Lantern Superman. It's no secret that Superman is the bad guy in the Injustice universe, and it actually makes a lot of sense that he would have a Yellow Lantern ring, since he is powerful and again, he is the bad guy, which means that many, many people fear him. Now, even though we didn't see Yellow Lantern Superman in the game, he was in the comic books, and the way he got his ring is actually kind of cool because Superman was about to die from kryptonite when the ring actually comes in and saves his life, and with the ring, he is able to create a construct that actually gets the kryptonite out of him. That is really, really cool. Plus, the idea of adding raw power with the creativity of a lantern ring brings a lot of possibilities for his passives and for his specials in Injustice 2 Mobile. I would really like to see this character because he's just a really cool concept and a really cool idea to have in the game. Number 6, Martian Manhunter. Characters nowadays in Injustice 2 Mobile have a lot of passives and a lot of abilities, and because Martian Manhunter already has a lot of superpowers, I think he could fit in quite well. Maybe they can add certain abilities that can where he can phase through hits, or maybe he can do some sort of telekinesis stuff, or maybe he can shapeshift into, maybe a raccoon or something. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of different possibilities to have with Martian Manhunter. Plus, he kind of seems to rival Superman in raw strength. I'm not too sure how accurate that is, but he is a pretty strong character, so I guess he would be a might character. I'm not too sure again. I just like the idea of him being in the game. We saw him in Injustice 1 and how versatile his characters were. I would just like to see him return in Injustice 2 Mobile and have that same diversity. Number 5, Zatanna. Zatanna was in Injustice 1 Mobile, and she was actually a pretty bad character. She didn't have a lot of health, and she didn't have a lot of attack. And one of her specials actually had a chance of backfiring at you at random, which, is a really bad idea to have. She kind of reminds me of Reverse Flash, where Reverse Flash's passive can actually backfire on you. But at least with Reverse Flash, you can actually control this by being tactile. You need to know when you want to tag him in and when you want to tag him out. If maybe they added that same tactile ability to Zatanna, she would be great as well. Plus, she's a magician, so it makes a lot of sense that she would kind of have this backfire ability. Just let us know how to control that. Give us the option to know when to control that, not just making it completely random. And again, because she's a magician, they can make a lot of really cool specials and a lot of really cool passives for her. Her super move could involve maybe like her pulling a bunny out of a hat and then it turning into a dragon. I don't know, man. The possibilities are really just endless when it comes to magic. So it's not up to me, it's to the developers, but I would really like to see her in Injustice 2 Mobile. Number 4, Diablo. Diablo was one of my favorite characters in the Suicide Squad movie, and I was a really big fan of the way he turned into a giant fire Aztec monster towards the end. I would really like to see that as maybe one of his passives. It would look really, really cool. Even if they added it to one of his special abilities, I would probably just spam that special all day long, even if it was weak, just because, again, it looks really, really cool. And he was also in the Suicide Squad movie, so he should be a part of the Suicide Squad team. I think it makes a lot of sense. We saw him in Injustice 1 Mobile, but only as a gear, so we couldn't actually play with him. So I would really like to see him in Injustice 2 Mobile. His specials and his passives would revolve around some sort of fire theme. I'm not too sure what they would do for him. I just really want to see him as a giant fire Aztec monster, man. In terms of his super move, maybe they could just copy firestorms. They do that with some characters, so they could just do that with that. Either way, I just want to see this character again because he looks really cool. Number 3, metal characters. Metal is kind of like a whole different storyline, kind of like Injustice and kind of like New 52. And in Metal, a lot of superheroes that we know are really, really, really dark. And they look really, really, really cool. And that's why I want to see them in Injustice 2 Mobile. We did see some of them in Injustice 1 Mobile, but only a few compared to how many characters there actually is. So again, I would really like to see those remainder characters come back or make a new introduction in Injustice 2 Mobile. I don't know too much about the story, so that's kind of a bummer. Maybe I should look into that. But, at the end of the day, they just look really cool, and the developers are really just going to add any passives or any specials they want, anyways. I'm not too sure if metal characters have some sort of life force that comes out of them, because the Batman that laughs looks kind of dead. So I don't know if he's kind of like a zombie or stuff, but if he is, maybe they can add some sort of healing factor towards this team. I'm not too sure. I just know that they look really cool, and I would really like to see them in the game. Number 2, John Constantine. John Constantine is kind of like a sorcerer or a magician, kind of like Zatanna. I would like to see him in the game just because that would make for a really cool character to see. Now, John Constantine actually plays a pretty big role in the Injustice universe, and he actually, towards the end, betrays Batman. I say betrays lightly because he leaves to go save his daughter, to go protect his daughter. And that's kind of honorable to a certain extent. Obviously, Batman is trying to save the entire world, the entire universe, from being enslaved by Superman. So you can kind of blame Constantine for leaving, but you also can't. Either way, he is a really cool looking character. He always has a smoke on him, kind of like or should I say a cigar on him, kind of like Hellboy, which just looks pretty cool. Obviously, you shouldn't be smoking, but I've also heard that this character is kind of like damned, quite literally damned to go to hell. I'm not too sure how accurate that is, but either way, again, he's a sorcerer. I would really like to see him. Plus, he really rocks that coat, man. I've never seen any character rock the coat like the way he does. And he's just super carefree. He's kind of like me if I were a superhero or in the Injustice universe. He just doesn't seem to care, man. And I really like that about him. Number 1, Batgirl. We saw a lot of really cool Batgirl characters in Injustice 1 Mobile, and I would really like to see them in Injustice 2 Mobile because, well, you know, they're really great characters. I'm gonna end it right here. All right, guys, that's the list. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know if there's any characters you guys would like to see in Injustice 2 Mobile. DC has a ton of characters, so I'm sure you guys have ideas as to who would be really cool to add to the roster. Either way, have a nice day, stay safe, and stay clean.